Hello, Villages Honor Flight, and welcome to the March 2021 monthly video. Happy almost St. Patrick's Day. Please make sure to get all your green out and don't forget the Irish whiskey. All right, well, as we always do, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we'll take a few minutes of silence to remember those that have fallen. So this month we have a couple announcements. The first one, we are very pleased to tell you all, and I'm sure you know anyway, but just to remind you that we are going to have our annual golf tournament. It is going to be held on Friday, the 7th of May. It will be at the Eagle Ridge Golf Course at Del Webb Spruce Creek in Summerfield. All of the information and the applications and all the other details are on our website under the fundraising section. There's an application there so you can very easily fill it out. I want to personally thank Frank Moravec for all the hard work that he has done in leading the effort and all of his volunteers. And speaking of volunteers, Frank still needs more volunteers. So please help Frank and sign up to help him. Just to let you know, everything will be done within the CDC guidelines and social distancing and local directives. For those of you that are going to play golf, please note that the registration on Friday, the 7th of May, will be between 6:45 and 8 a.m. For those of you that have done honor flight missions, that's still 4 or 5, 6 hours later than normal. So you get a break, you get to sleep in a little bit. The second announcement that I'd like to make is from one of the folks that provide us donations. As you may remember, a few months ago, Mission Barbecue, the corporate Mission Barbecue, donated over $500,000 to Honor Flight. The local Mission Barbecue up on Route 441 is also a big supporter of our local hub. And they are a huge supporter of all veterans. On March 29th is Vietnam Veterans Day. Mission Barbecue will be doing some special activities for Vietnam Veterans Day. They're going to have the Marine Corps League presenting the colors. They're going to have a singer that will sing the national anthem. There will be representatives to present pins and certificate from the Department of Defense. All that will happen between 11 and 2. There will be a representative from the Vietnam Veterans of America on hand to hand out poppies. And they're working to try and get the Sounds of Scotland pipes and drums to play from 11:15 to 11:45. And one more thing, every Vietnam era veteran will receive a free sandwich. You do not have to have served in country. You just need to be a veteran and serve during the Vietnam era. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our hub president, Rob Hempel. Rob, over to you.
Hi, everybody. It's good to be able to talk with you again. Again, we're virtual, but I see hopefully a pathway forward now that we're all serious about being vaccinated and not having to worry about this pandemic like we have in the past. I've already had my 2 shots, no ill effects. It was a well-run process in Leesburg. If you're still not vaccinated and you want to be a part of a mission, it's important to understand that we have already made the decision that to participate in a mission, to be in part of a pre-flight or any other aspect of the mission, you will require a vaccination. That's just a safety policy the board felt was important. So that is how we're going to hopefully be prepared for the fall when we are getting more and more optimistic that we may have missions. We will not know for certain until national, their board makes the final decision, but that is currently underway. So as they promised, sometime perhaps in late April, early May, we may know whether or not we're going to be able to fly. So keep your fingers crossed. We all want to do this. And if we prepare properly and we do it right, it'll be a good thing again, and we'll be back in the business of providing honor flights, something we all hold dear to our hearts. One of the other projects that we've been working on with this downtime is the creation of that Florida Honor Flight license tag. There's been a lot of work involved by all the different hubs in Florida, all 10 of them. We all are playing a part, but the good news is we have 2 separate bills now, one in the House and the other in the Senate, and they are going through committees at this time. The purpose of that is to have everyone on board, the proper language in the bills, so that when they come into the actual legislature for a vote, it should be a pretty simple process. That's always the hope. But the good news is we've been doing a lot of work on the sidelines, writing to our representatives, writing to our senators, and making them aware that this is something that we want to do for our veterans, as well as each of these honor hubs that require funding in order to do their business. So it's looking good. We were not hopeful that we would even have this bill ready for this legislature, but because of the hard work from all these hubs, all 10 of them, we're there. So I will update you as we learn more about where we are with this Florida Honor Flight tag. We need a minimum of 3,000 of them to make it happen. So keep your fingers crossed. The other thing I wanted to mention was we have some wonderful volunteers here, and every once in a while we get one who steps up and makes a suggestion or provides some type of a great idea that we look at as a management team, and then we actually make it happen. And that happened just this past month when Jeannie Martin made a suggestion about putting something on our website that would help people who may have heard about Honor Flight but really don't know anything about it. And in the past, what we had, it sometimes would provide more confusion than it did any real useful information about what we do and how we do things. Well, that's been remedied now. And if you would go to our website, and on the very far right side of the home page, you'll see volunteer information, and click on that, and you'll see pretty much anything you want to know about Village's Honor Flight and where you could fit into the organization is all right there. So thank you, Jeannie Martin, for that suggestion, and to my management team for all the good work you did in making that what it is today. So I appreciate all of you. And that's all I really have to say. I will be at the golf tournament, by the way. We put together a team, and I hope this will be my first opportunity to get to see a lot of you again in person, and hopefully have a good golf game also. But I'm not real optimistic about that. But it'll be fun. I do know that. So if you haven't yet made that decision, I would encourage you either get involved with the golf tournament by golfing or perhaps maybe volunteering. So thank you. And Al, I'm sending it back to you.
Thanks, Rob. That was a lot of really good information. And to highlight the golf tournament again, we all need volunteers. You can donate. Please sign up to actually play, because this is our largest moneymaker of the entire year. All right, so continuing on, as you know, for the past 8 months, we've been highlighting a commissioned service of the United States of America. Today, we're going to be talking about the United States Merchant Marine. I think you'll find our presentation to be very informative. We have a guest speaker, Mr. Dave Aldrich, a retired member of the United States Merchant Marine. Dave graduated from the Merchant Marine Academy at Kings Point, Long Island, New York in 1968. While at Kings Point, his sea year was spent on vessels traveling around the world to Germany and to the East, West, and South Africa. Upon graduation, he sailed 4 years, mostly on vessels carrying ammunition and supplies to Vietnam. The rest of his career was spent ashore in the Merchant Marine, managing foreign flag oil tankers for Exxon and Admanthos Shipping Agency. He subsequently retired as the president of Admanthos in 2008 and moved to the Villages with his wife Naomi in 2016. He remains an active member of the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy Alumni Association and even the local chapter, if you will, here in the Villages. So without further ado, Dave, over to you.
Greetings to all you members of the Villages Honor Flight, and my personal thanks to all you do for all of our veterans. My purpose here today is to give you a glimpse of the Merchant Marine, specifically the United States Merchant Marine, some of its history, particularly since World War II, and the state of the industry today. There will be a short 2 to 3 minute video at the end produced by the Maritime Administration on the Merchant Marine today, its future, and its importance to our nation. The term Merchant Marine refers to both the group of privately and federally owned merchant ships working throughout the world and to the group of merchant mariners who man all these vessels. It is also merchant mariners who man all our tugboats, ferries, oil carriers on the Great Lakes, riverboats, etc. During World War II, mainly to move troops, 18 American shipyards built 2,710 Liberty ships between the years of 1941 and 1945. That's 3 ships every 2 days. The famous Rosie the Riveter is often pictured working in those shipyards building those ships. To replace ships sunk by German torpedoes, we also built faster and larger Victory ships, 531 of those in total. Today, just a few of all these vessels still survive, maintained as museums, but many of those Victory ships served us very well during the Vietnam War, carrying ammunition and supplies. Those 25-year-old vessels were all we had available at the time, and I spent most of my own seagoing career on them. Merchant mariners manned all these vessels in World War II and died at the rate of 1 in 26, the highest rate of casualties of any service in World War II. All told, probably more than 1,000 American cargo ships were lost, and as many as 9,500 of the 200,000 mariners who served perished in those waters and off enemy shores. Off the coast of North Carolina alone today lie the remains of nearly 100 World War II vessels and 1,700 men. 142 cadet midshipmen from my alma mater, the United States Merchant Marine Academy, died on those vessels, and the Academy is the only one of the 5 federal academies authorized to carry the battle standard as part of its color guard. After the war, there were no parades for the mariners, no hiring preferences for jobs. Many returned to find their contributions to America's war effort were held in little regard. They received no government pensions, education, or other benefits for their service. They also did not receive credit for their service, leaving many of them vulnerable to the Korean War draft just a few years later. Efforts to recognize these mariners as veterans began immediately after the war, but most of these initiatives failed. After many legislative attempts, in 1988, certain limited veterans' rights were granted to mariners who served during World War II. Minor improvements were granted in 1998, but the battle for further recognition for mariners still continues. It is my hope today that you will be inspired to read and learn more about these men and women, their efforts and sacrifices. There is obviously plenty of information available on the internet, as well as books, movies, and even songs. Two recent movies, both starring Tom Hanks, are Greyhound on Apple TV, and that's a World War II story, and Captain Phillips, a more contemporary story. The book I recommend, as a classmate of mine was lost in this tragedy, is Sailing into the Abyss, another Vietnam-era story. Probably almost all of us know the song, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which is a true story set on Lake Superior. The United States was once the most dominant fleet in the world. Way back in 1826, we carried 90% of our own international trade, 58% still in the late 1940s, but just 1 or 2% today. We had over 2,000 US flagged ocean-going vessels in the late 1940s. Less than 100 still exist today. In the 1960s, I remember seeing great passenger ships like the SS United States, many other vessels lining the Hudson River in New York City. Today, there are so many less ships and so many less trained mariners. Most vessels today sail under flags of convenience or flags of necessity, as ship owners prefer to say. About 20% of the estimated 50,000 ships traveling the world today are flagged in Panama, but China has 10% and they're increasing. We are less than 1%. Vessels are governed by the law of the nations under whose flag they fly. We built all those ships in our shipyards in World War II, yet today, American shipyards build only US government vessels and a small number of barges, ferries, things like that. The world's largest, most modern shipyards are in places like Japan, South Korea, and China. There are many reasons for this alarming trend, and many studies looked at over the years. Is it reversible? Is it too late? Only time will tell. We will conclude with a very short video produced by the Maritime Administration called How the Merchant Marine is Important, National Security. The video is copyrighted and used in its entirety with the permission of the Maritime Administration Public Affairs Officers. They also have many more on their YouTube channel.
Maritime commerce and naval supremacy empowered U.S. influence around the world. But today, our commercial maritime fleet is in decline. Of the 50,000 trading ships that travel the Earth, only 78 fly the U.S. flag, the lowest in history. Consequently, 98% of all U.S. trade, some $1.8 trillion of goods and raw materials, is carried and controlled on foreign-flagged ships. As our flag fleet has dwindled, so have the men and women who crew these vessels and have served honorably in every American war. The United States Merchant Marine. Hundreds of ships have been lost, and thousands of mariners have died sailing into combat and blockades under fire, transporting military cargo and supplies. Meanwhile, other countries are revitalizing their maritime capabilities. China is creating an integrated maritime capability, building new trade routes, superports, and megaships that can be converted for military use. As their naval and commercial efforts grow, so does their influence, potentially impacting the balance of power in the Pacific. Commercial U.S. flag vessels and the merchant marine are vital to our national security. Rebuilding our flag fleet would put a vessel flying the U.S. flag in every part of the world, a visible extension of the power of seaborne trade and presence of our nation. It would preserve our freedom of navigation, provide deterrence, strengthen alliances, and demonstrate U.S. resolve to be a maritime nation. It would let us provide rapid global sea lift and surge capacity to support and sustain our armed forces overseas. It would make the U.S. less dependent on foreign flagships to move our trade. It would enable the U.S. to project power globally, including humanitarian relief anywhere, at any time. But we must start now. As our nation has learned repeatedly, waiting for the drumbeat of war would be too late. Rebuilding the U.S. flag fleet will do for our future what it did in the past. It will create a stronger nation for today and for generations to come.
Thank you all for giving me the time to talk to you. I hope you found this interesting, and I will now turn it back to Al.
Thanks, Dave. Wow, that is fantastic about the U.S. Merchant Marine. I, for one, was very surprised when I looked into the history of the Merchant Marine and how only a select few of the World War II veterans have been authorized for status as a veteran, with all the rest not receiving any benefits or anything. I absolutely would encourage you to go out and search for more information about the Merchant Marine. I think you'll find it very interesting and informative. So that brings us to the end of the March video. We hope you all stay safe. Just like Rob, I've only had my first shot, my first COVID shot. My second shot I'm going to get in the very near future, but I've been practicing and training every night by taking a couple shots just to make sure that I'm going to get it right. Okay, we'll see you guys next month, and have a happy St. Patrick's Day. Bye-bye.